let's just continue with the storyline, because this really is like what the episode is about, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take your surprise. I'll see your surprise and I'll raise you. A Ken finally gets some relief.
Oh, thank God.
Welcome back to the third and final part of tonight's show. If you are just joining us, we've already finished parts 1 and 2, where we tried and discussed Elijah Craig's Small Batch Bourbon, and we covered the first half of Sons of Anarchy, Season 1, Episode 8, titled The Pull. I want to quickly remind everyone, please like and subscribe. Be sure to leave us your questions and comments in the comment section below, or email your questions to us at ask@bourbonbros, that's BROS.TV. And as always, if your question doesn't suck, we may even answer it on a future show. All right, Ken, let's get into the back half of the episode. I want to pick up where you left off. We talked about Cameron getting shot, getting wheeled into the ambulance, and mm-hmm. after the kind of aftermath of that scene, you're left with what I refer to as brothers divided. You have Clay, Jax, Tig, and Opie standing in the parking lot, kind of talking about what has just happened, and things come to a head between Clay and Jax.
You with us here?
We're not ready for war. We got no cash. We got no weapons surplus. Not to mention ATF still in place.
You can always find cash and weapons. The question is, are you with us here? Clay
is out for blood. Tig is out for blood. Jax is not. And even Opie, who is, he's tight with Jax, is the voice of reason here, saying, hey, they're right. We need people, we need guns, and we can't let this lie.
This is war.
This is war. Yeah. And so Jax, being odd man out, really the only one who is against that, leaves. And you've got Clay and Tig and Opie, and then eventually, they're on the same page. Clay tells Opie to start calling people, other Sam Crow charters, get him here, we are preparing for war. Opie leaves, and it's just Tig and Clay. Mm-hmm. And I think overall what I love about this scene is you look at breaking down all the different dynamics, when it's everyone and Jax and Clay arguing, and then it's Tig and Clay, all of these feelings that have been brewing over the last 7 episodes start to get aired out in the open. True feelings get revealed. And Tig finally says,
Clay, I'm worried about this, okay? Jax is smart, and I appreciate his lead on a lot of stuff. But where we gotta go now, it ain't about being smart. It's about killing shit.
In a life and death situation, I totally get it. And
he's not happy.
No, he's not. Sure. And Clay's kind of like, yep, you're right. I know. And it's not a blow off, but it's kind of a blow off. Mm-hmm. And I loved how Tig's just like, no.
I know.
No. I mean, I don't trust him when push comes to blood. I don't think he's got the balls to pull the trigger. You hear what I'm saying?
I hear you.
This is real and it's important. And I love the way that scene was written. And again, Kim Coates acted so brilliantly. It was just perfection.
Yeah, powerful scene. He got his point across. It's not just a simple issue, it's a real issue.
Yes.
He was serious.
I'm putting my life on the line, and I don't trust the guy that's supposed to have my back.
Mm-hmm. It was well done.
All right, you're up. What do you got next?
Well, I'm just going to get to the good stuff.
Let's do it.
Agent Cone.
Your favorite guy.
Favorite guy. Creepy Agent Cone makes a surprise visit and shows up at Tara's place. Hello, I'm here. Barges right in. Grabs her, kind of keeps her quiet, and proceeds to demonstrate a level of creepiness like never never seen before. When watching this particular scene, it was actually acted very well by the actor that plays Agent Cone.
It was.
But it looks so desperate. He is coming off like, I can save this relationship.
Oh,
And
just totally
it is
clueless. He just
totally clueless.
La La Land.
The restraining order, come on. That was so out of the blue, and it made me feel like some kind of psycho.
Sorry.
But you know now that there was nothing to be afraid of, right? You just, you weren't used to being loved so deeply.
He's just wanting to fix that relationship when there's absolutely no hope. And Tara realizes that, you know, her survival instincts are kicking in here. At one point, he becomes violent and beats her because it comes out that she had an abortion, and he got really upset and ends up beating her. She realizes that I'm going to have to figure a way out of this, but for the time being, I'm going to have to play along here.
Not this way. It's a fresh start. Make love to me. Gentle, like I know you can.
Yeah, it reminds me of a little bit of like this, like, I love you, I want to kill you. I love you, I want to kill you. Right? Like he's bouncing back and forth. This sociopathic, like just nurturing one moment and then pissed off and beating the crap out of her the next. And yeah, I think you said it perfectly. Tara knows who this guy is. Mm-hmm. She's seen all of these sides before and immediately goes into this survival mode, as you said, where it's like, I'm going to do what I have to do to make sure that this guy doesn't lose it and kill me.
Right. I'll think about it on the fly here, but for the time being, I'm going to give him what he thinks he needs.
Yeah. And she works really hard doing things that you know she doesn't want to do in an effort to prevent things from escalating.
Right.
So let's just continue with the storyline, because this really is like what the episode is about. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take your surprise. I'll see your surprise and I'll raise you. A Ken finally gets some relief.
Oh, thank God.
I know that Agent Cone has been like nails on a chalkboard for you. Mm-hmm. And you see what he's doing here in this scene, and to see what he's doing with Tara and what Tara is having to do and the things that she's having to do to try to placate. Mm-hmm. And it's uncomfortable. But it also works because Tara navigates the situation to the point where she can grab Cone's gun.
Oh, God.
And then Cone immediately goes back to, you bitch, right? Mm-hmm. Back to that. But he's got a gun wound to deal with now. So, and Tara's holding the gun. So Tara's in a position of strength here, which is good. And he wants her to call 911 because he's going to bleed out. Tara picks up the phone and dials. Cone assumes it's 911. It's not 911.
Call an ambulance. I'll bleed out. Tara, I'm sorry. Please, I'm sorry.
It's Jax.
It's Jax. So Jax, who left not that long ago, turns around and hauls ass back, and shows up, and then things really get real. I'm going to let you take this one, but I'm just going to take the Ken gets some relief to Ken gets total relief on Agent Cone.
Definitely. So Jax comes in.
Oh, shit.
Jax explains that, hey, we're going to call the police. he's going to go to jail in 3 years or 3 to 5 years or whatever amount of time. I think it was 3 to 5 years. He's going to be out again. And Tara immediately flips and says, I can't do this again. Thankfully, Agent Cohn is yelling some obscenities and effectively calls her a biker whore.
No, we can't do this again, Jax. Please
Tell us your solution.
do this.
You pathetic whore.
And his anger kind of at that moment got the best of him. And he ran into the room and just shot him in the head. Shut him up.
And it was so quick. You're expecting Jax to go in and like yell at him, right? Like, shut your mouth, or I'm like, no discussion. No, just all of a sudden, bullet to the head, Cohn's dead. Like that.
Just over. Silent. She's screaming. He sets the gun down. I don't know if he caught it, but he set the gun on the bedside table very softly and politely. Just set it down and sat on the bed and just let it, marinate. And I think he got the impression he was a little upset with how he handled it. What was your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much here in such a short amount of time, right? So as Jax is kind of explaining to Tara, like, we're going to call the cops. You're not going to get arrested. He's going to go to jail, but that's a short-term solution because eventually he gets out and this whole thing starts all over again. And then, as you said,
Tara did not want to take that.
No. And then you've got Cohn, who's absolutely pushing Jax's buttons in the way that he's treating and what he's saying to Tara, right? So it's very much that bravado of, you can't say those things to someone I care about. And then in that split moment where he bullet to the head kills Cohn, it's as quickly as he does it, it's also the realization that this is exactly what my dad didn't want for the club. And it's almost this disappointment that he has in himself. And he's pulled, right? Like, he knows he just solved the problem for Tara. But he had to resort to the violence that everything he's been reading in his dad journals has been against. And you see that struggle.
Right.
Yeah, a lot there and no words, right? From the moment Jax walks into the room and you see all of this unfold and there's no words. You're just reading body language, facial expressions. And again, credit to both the writing, the way it was shot, and the acting.
Agreed. Now, you just mentioned the emotions, the pull of emotions that Jax is having. Do you think that's where this episode got its name?
It's a great point, Ken. It's a really great point. I had not really given much thought to the name of the episode, but yeah, I think you nailed it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with.
Absolutely. I think you're 100% right. It kind of reminds me of the Godfather, that famous line of, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. I think this may be a nod to that.
Maybe. What's your next point? I think we have one more.
For such an emotional scene, and again, just to put the cherry on top, like, Cohn's dead. Right? The storyline of Cohn ends in this episode. Ken, you don't have to worry about creepy Agent Cohn anymore.
Oh, I'm so happy for that.
But then things get a little weird. I can kind of understand it, but again, it's a little weird. And I'm going to, as much as there's a wedge right now between Tig and Jax, I'm going to refer to this as Tig gets a little competition. You know where I'm going?
Okay. Yeah, I can sense this.
So when Jax kills Cohn, Tara is not used to seeing something like that and just loses her shit. She's just screaming, hysterical. And again, as you said, that dichotomy between Tara so hysterical and Jax so calm, right? And so Jax consoles Tara, tells her it's going to be okay. And that leads to a kiss and an embrace. And that leads to them kind of falling on the bed and they start to make out. And it's kind of that, I forget what they refer to it, but that survivor syndrome. When you survive a life and death experience, the person that saved you, you can have kind of a connection to. And I think that's what's happening here. But obviously there's a lot more in terms of their bond and their attraction to one another and their history. But then that kind of dovetails into this final montage of everything that's happening in this moment of time. So you've got Jax and Tara and their situation. You've got the aftermath of this attempted hit on Clay, and you see the Mayans kind of coming back to their clubhouse, the sun going, and you can see the kind of disappointment and frustration on Alvarez's face. You see Unser outside of Darby's house as they're carrying out the dead bodies after the attempted hit on Darby. You see back at the Sam Crow clubhouse, like they're starting to load guns and get ready for war. You see Clay and Gemma is obviously worried that Clay was almost killed. Like all of these things that are all happening in that exact moment of time. Which was just a brilliant way of kind of shooting it and tying everything together. But the very final scene, before we fade to black, is it comes back full circle to Jax and Tara. And they are having sex on Tara's bed as the camera pans to Agent Cone, dead, lying on the floor next to them.
A little morbid to think about, isn't it?
It's so Tig. It just reminds me of exactly what would get Tig off.
Yeah.
And it obviously wasn't that for Jax and Tara. They've tuned everything else out. All they're doing is focused on one another. But yes, it was a little morbid. Just wow.
Yeah.
What an episode.
Great ending. Great ending.
It was a crazy episode. There was so much there. Like I said, it made me want to immediately jump and binge the next episode. But in a lot of ways, you had some things resolved, right? Like Agent Cone. And then you had other things that are not resolved at all and have been ramped up in a big way. And that's what makes me want to go to that next episode to find out what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, the Mayans come to mind.
Yes.
The war that's brewing there. But what's most important to me, John, the one great takeaway for me is really only one thing matters, and that's Agent Cone is no longer in the script.
That's right. Yes. Obviously, we've got to deal with his body, but you will not be seeing any more creepiness from Agent Cone.
Thank God. Thank God.
But hopefully, we do get some more Agent Stahl. I could use a little more Agent Stahl.
Yeah, she wasn't in this one. Good point. So could I.
Which actually brings us to next week's show, where we'll be getting into episode 9, which is titled Hell Followed. Now, Ken, I got to be honest with you. It has been a long time since I've seen Hell Followed. I don't remember a lot about this episode.
Yeah, me neither. I could use a refresher, that's for sure.
But I'm pretty sure Jax has to deal with Agent Cone's body. And I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, if it's in this episode, after the Mayans and Darby kind of conspire to kill Clay, we see some tables being turned and some new alliances forged.
I guess we'll see. I'm looking forward to revisiting that.
If this episode is any indication, things are starting to get good. Like if it was a slow roll in the first few episodes, like it's a fever pitch now. I'm in. Which brings us to our second most important question of the night, Ken. What are we going to drink next week?
That's a good question. Well, I actually think, for better or for worse, this was my selection tonight. But I think it's your turn. What are we drinking?
Well, I thought a little bit about this, and I figured if you were going to flip it to me, I was going to go with something else that I don't think either of us have had. I know about it. I know that it's well regarded in the bourbon community. It's well known. And for whatever reason, I've never had it. When we talked about doing the bourbon tour, or the bourbon trail, meeting up in Kentucky and doing the bourbon trail, which was derailed because Tom Jones started playing What's New Pussycat 21 times in a row. This was on our list of places we wanted to visit. And the bourbon that I'm going to nominate for next week is Four Roses, small batch Kentucky straight bourbon.
Yep, I have never tried that.
Nor have I. Now, if you remember from our first show, when we did our tasting of Bullet, Four Roses used to be the exclusive producer for Bullet for over a decade. And Bullet used to be one of my favorite bourbons. So that tells me they know how to make a bourbon.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you one little teaser that I think will pique your interest for our discussion next week. Four Roses uses two different mash bills when they brew their bourbon, right? So the bourbon we're going to drink utilizes two different mash bills and 5 different yeast strains. So they're going to create, each year when they distill, they create 10 unique bourbon recipes.
Wow. That's impressive.
It's unique.
Some skillful testers there.
And that's going to do it for tonight's show. We hope you had as much fun as we did. And one final reminder, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, please remember to like and subscribe and be sure to check out our channel for more shows. And for those listening on the podcast, please leave us a review, preferably 5 stars. If not 5 stars, how about no review? We just want 5-star reviews. We need more people to know about this show. We need more people to watch and listen. So please help us out, spread the word. But most of all, I want to thank you for joining us for tonight's show. And Ken and I hope you'll join us here each and every week on the Liquid Courage Show. Good night.